Welcome back to the Product Huddle. This is a podcast where we talk about the real product problems in product management and not the theory version. Today, we're having a special edition. I'm Anna, and this is Jeff. We're gonna do something different today. It's the end of the year, so we were thinking that we should talk more about how PMs actually close out their year and plan for the next one.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Every PM that I know is meticulous about their product roadmap. They've got OKRs, they do their retrospectives, they've got quarterly planning sessions. But when you stop and ask them about their own goals, you figure out pretty quickly that we're just winging it.
Hmm. Which is pretty wild when you think about it, because we manage products like they're going to be around for decades, but when we have to manage our own lives, we are treating it like we're immortal, like we're going to be here forever.
Exactly. And look, I'm not saying that you have to be some productivity guru, but if you're good at strategic planning for products, you should be applying at least a little bit of that discipline to yourself.
Hmm. But let's start why this matters. So, why should PM specifically need to hear this?
Well, we're surrounded by goal setting theater all day long. We have company OKRs, product goals, sprint objectives, and it's all very structured. But sometimes that structure can make you worse at setting your personal goals and not better.
Hmm. How do you think so?
Well, most corporate goal setting is around performance. It's designed to show alignment, accountability to other people, but your personal goals, nobody's checking. Nobody's going to put you on a personal improvement plan if you don't read the 24 books that you promised yourself. And I'm going to fall short of that on my goal this year. But here's what I see happen. PMs get to December. They've shipped a bunch of products and features. They've hit their metrics. They maybe got promoted and they feel not quite full. They feel empty. And that's because they optimized their product, but they neglected themselves.
I'm sensing you have some suggestions. So, do you think you can tell us like what should they be doing instead?
Well, they should be treating themselves like a product. I have a post-it note on my wall in front of me that says the product is you. And not in a gross personal brand kind of a way, but in more of a let me measure what actually matters to me and track if I'm improving towards that kind of way. You wouldn't ship a product without knowing if it's working. And so the question is, why are you living your life tracking it without tracking if you're working? It's probably the most important thing I do all year because it sets the tone for the entire year.
Nice. I remember the first time we talked about this, and I was so looking forward for you to share it with the others. And I would like for you to walk us through what you actually do. So, what does that look like in practice?
Sure. So I've been doing this for several years now. A lot of these habits actually started during COVID as a way to remind myself what was important, to remind myself that good things were still happening during a pretty dire time. But it's evolved into something pretty simple. There's three main components. The first one is what we'll call the blue post-it review. And it's these blue post-it notes. Every December, I take a blue post-it, 4 by 6 inches. I think that's 10 by 15 centimeters. And I write down all the positive things that happened during the past year. Accomplishments, things that made you happy, just good things. Like I got my first book published. I had great conversations with certain people. I traveled someplace that was meaningful to me. I hit a milestone with a client. Went for a walk every day. Got Taylor Swift tickets. Favorite team won a big game. Got a platinum trophy in the game I'd been playing all year. Whatever makes life worth living.
Hmm. But why does this matter?
Well, most of us, especially product people, we get focused on what didn't happen, what we missed, what we failed at. Doing the blue post-it exercise forces you to acknowledge what did happen before you start planning the next year. And I keep all of them on my wall. I have blue post-it notes going back to 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, and soon 25. And you can literally see the progression of my life in the blue post-it notes on my wall. Then the second thing is after I have thought about the past year, then I start focusing on what I want to do going forward. And I don't just make a random list of goals. I try and pick out three key themes. It's hard to do everything all at once. So 3 areas of focus. For me this year, it was personal/health, creativity. I'm working on a new book, and expanding my influence. And this podcast is part of that expanded influence. Those 3 themes help me filter the opportunities that I have during the year. If it doesn't fit one of those buckets, it's probably not the right thing for me this year.
Mm, nice. And the third component?
So, tracking system. I've got 2 things that I do. One is a clipboard with graph paper, and I've divided the graph paper up into groupings of the smaller boxes. Each grouping is a specific goal. So let's say that you want to complete 100 workouts this year. I'll have a grouping called workout with 100 boxes in it. And every time I do a workout, I check off a box on the clipboard. The other thing I have is a big whiteboard. And that's where I literally use tally marks. Dry erase marker, a mark for each time I do spend an hour working on my writing, for each mentoring call that I do. It's very analog. It's very visible. I keep a list of my goals on the wall and my tracking system on the wall in front of my desk, and I see them every day.
To be fair, I really like your approach, but I have to ask because I think everybody's wondering at this point, like, why just not using the app?
That's a good question. It's a fair question. My deal might not work for some people, but for me, the apps hide the data, and I want to see it. I want to walk past my whiteboard every day and see that I've done 481 mentoring calls, and I'm on my way to my goal of 500. That visual reinforcement matters to me. You can spend weeks building an elaborate tracking system, but you could also just grab a clipboard or a whiteboard and start, because the doing is where the value is. It's not just the planning. I don't know, Anna, do you have a system for something like this?
I really liked your answer because it's kind of introduction to mine approach, because I think it's like a combination. So I do have approach, and it took me a while to stop over engineering it, honestly. I'm very digital by default. Probably all of my generation is, and younger people as well. So I track most things in Notion, but I've learned the hard way that the reflection and tracking are 2 different jobs. So what I track is this energy, not just output. So I track how many days per month I end up work feeling energized versus drained. That's been more predictive of burnout than hours worked, honestly, at least for me. The second thing is revenue leverage. So not just money earned, but more where it came from, full-time roles, consulting, advisory, experiments. It keeps me honest about what's actually worth my time. And third one is visibility actions, which is like post published, meaningful conversation started, follow up sent, not vanity metrics, but more inputs I can control. And I just remember the one that you mentioned, the first, which should have been mine. First one is the health basics. So workouts, walks, sleep consistency, nothing fancy, but like basics, but to keep it covered. And how do I reflect is at the end of the year, I do a written review with 3 questions. So I ask myself this, what gave me disappropriate returns? What quietly drained me all year? And what did I keep postponing that clearly matters? The third one is uncomfortable. I would say maybe all 3 of them can be uncomfortable, but it's always the most useful. So I'm focusing teams versus goals, which is absolutely use teams now. When I didn't, I ended up with conflicting goals like chasing growth while craving calm. So it was very a big of conflict for me. Teams for trade-offs, which I honestly need. Um, and one thing which I had to be honest with myself, so I will be honest with all of you listening, is digital is great for tracking because it's here, it's always with you, right? But analog is better for commitment. When something really matters, I still put it somewhere where I can physically see it.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, we've had so many conversations and I have not heard uh big chunks of this, but that's really an amazing way to wrap up your year. Um, we look at all these things that we do, and there's at least from a coaching side, I see people screw it up.
Mm.
There are a number of mistakes that people make. And because I've coached enough PMs to see the patterns, let's kind of step through some of the things that people can do that make it harder. Mistake number one is just making too many goals. It's one of the reasons why I have the three themes. You'll make a list of 47 things you want to accomplish a year, and you're not going to read 100 books, learn three languages, and get six-pack abs and start a business on the side all in the same year, probably. So how do you get some focus? And so typically I will do three themes, then I will do 3 to 5 goals per theme, and that's my success plan for that specific theme. Mistake number two, and this is a big one, no measurability. I want to get healthier isn't really a goal. I want to complete 100 yoga workouts and 300 walks is a goal. You need to know if you did the thing or if you didn't.
Yeah, that's very important. But what about the qualitative goals, like spending more time with your family?
Well, you can still measure that, right? You can say, turn it into schedule 52 family dinners or take 4 weekend trips with the kids. And you just, you make it specific enough that you know that it happened so that at the end of the day, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I did that thing. What does it mean? The third mistake in here is not reviewing things regularly. Why I have the clipboard, the whiteboard. You make the notes visible. They aren't for decoration. I look at them every day. That's how you stay on track. And if you only review your goals once a year, they're not really goals at that point, right? They're just wishes. And if you actually made them happen, then that's a happy accident. Mistake number 4, don't have any consequences if you fall short. Some people can only succeed if they feel like they have some skin in the game. You might tell yourself that if you hit your goals, you'll spring for a first-class ticket on that next year's vacation. For me, I know that at the end of the year, I'm going to give myself a letter grade on how I performed for each goal. And if I smashed it, I'm getting an A plus, and if I fell massively short, I'm getting an F. And I average them out, and that's my grade for the year. And I like to get A's, so that's enough to keep me motivated. Last year was a B plus year, and so this year I'm trying to do better. Um, do you have anything that you do, Anna?
Oh, yes. I would say that so like your approach. Honestly, I'm always so inspired by it. And honestly, you were the one inspiring me do that for myself. That's why I think this topic is very important, because I would say, even though I'm tracking a lot of things, I can always do better to be more real with myself. So I would say that that is one of the mistakes that I can see in high performers. And all of the mistakes that I will list now is something that I saw in myself, and then all of my colleagues, especially the ones who I would say they excel at work, so they're really good PMs, but unfortunately in their personal lives they make mistakes like this. So for example, confusing ambition with realism. So it's not like people set goals based on who they wish they were, not who they are right now. And that's not aspirational, that's actually self sabotage, even if you don't realize. The second mistake is treating goals as personality traits. So I'm kind of person who dot dot dot. Instead of I will do X epsilon times, identify based goals um, collapse the moment motivation dips. So if you will connect with what you need to do and how much times, I think that will help you more than, oh, I do this or I don't do this. And the third mistake, which it took me longest to figure out, is no kill criteria, which is I've stuck with goals far too long just because I announced them publicly. So now I always define, when does this stop being worth it?
That's a
Because
great one.
it's right. It's don't be like sticking it to it just because you said it out loud. Even though I do agree that it's a very good motivation to start doing something. So if you have problems with it, to start and to kind of stick to it, then maybe that is working for you. But for me, that was kind of, um, draining me and keeping me actually apart from what I want to achieve. So from my own failures, I can say this. I used to set goals that looked impressive on LinkedIn, but didn't actually change my day-to-day life. Once I started optimizing for how my weeks feel, not how my year looked like on paper, everything got better. So I think there's a lesson there for all of us, I would say. But
Absolutely.
let's bring it back to product management. What PM skills for frameworks actually transfer to personal goal setting?
Actually, there's a bunch of them. So the first one that comes to mind is North Star and North Star metrics. Those three themes, that's basically your North Star. Everything you do should be moving you towards one of those three areas. If an opportunity doesn't fit your themes, it's kind of a distraction. The second one, we talked a little bit about this in the last podcast, value to effort matrix. It's essential to set priorities when you're doing this to make sure that you're focused on most important things. Like I talked about in the last podcast, I did this with my wife when she was overwhelmed with some opportunities. We took a standard value to effort matrix and adapted it. We make a list of everything that you're wanting to evaluate, score each item, high, medium, or low in terms of value, high, medium, or low in terms of effort. For her, we defined value as how much does this fill my cup? And effort meant how much does it drain my battery? And you can use that, or you can come up with your own definitions. For some people, it might literally be how much money do I make and how much money does it cost? So whatever works for you. The important thing is that you're taking your list and you're doing that prioritization. So once you're done with scoring them, you basically have three tiers. You have what I call the green tier. It's the tier where value exceeds effort. So high value, low effort. It's a profit zone. And you want to do these things all day, every day, as much as you can, because they're charging your battery back up. Then you have the yellow tier, which is the break-even tier, which is where value exceed or equals effort. So medium value, medium effort. And you do these things and you do them strategically. You do them to the extent that you have to. You do them to the degree that they fit once you've done all the green tier. And then you have the third tier, and that's what I call that's the red tier. That's the subsidy tier, the subsidy loan. And in this situation, effort exceeds value. So high effort, low value. You have to do some of these things sometimes, like paying your taxes or doing some yard work. But when you do them, you kind of know up front that you're eating a shit sandwich and when you do it. And this works for your personal goals too. Some goals energize you, some goals drain you, and you just need to know which is which. And then the third thing that I think ties back to a basic product management skill set is retrospectives. You know, the blue post exercise is basically a retro, although it's focused more on the positives, what went well. But you should also be asking yourself, based on your value to effort matrix, what should I be doing more of? What should I stop doing? Do you have any other examples, Anna?
Oh, yes, but I really love how you wrapped it all together because it is very useful. Like, everything that you do for businesses, for projects, products, you actually can implement in your own life. And it's so amazing, actually. But yes, a few I would say that genuinely work and a few that don't. What works surprisingly well is opportunity cost thinking, I would say, as you mentioned. So every yes automatically means no to something else. So I literally ask, what am I displacing by doing this? And then what also works is pre-mortems. So before committing to a big goal, I ask, it's December next year and this failed. Why?
I love that
Is the
one.
reason, if the reasons are obvious and preventable, that's data. You can use it, right? The third one that I figured out it's working is a roadmap as directions, not promises, which is mostly I treat my really plan like a product roadmap. So intention, but not a contract. And quarterly replanning is non-negotiable. And I kind of do it over and over it by default now. I really have the need to have it as to set the time to really see like where am I like are my goals defined, am I like doing it properly, do I feel fulfilled or whatever was the end goal, outcome, a milestone, and so on. But from my perspective, what failed miserably, at least in my practice, is strict OKRs. That doesn't work for me. So even though I do this quarterly, life is not a quarterly board meeting, too rigid, too binary. That doesn't work for me because I think, for example, for me, I am a person who will stick to my goals. I have like intrinsic motivation. I don't need another push. I'm the opposite. I should have more freedom and create more freedom in my life and my personal time. So that's number one. And then velocity obsession. So some seasons are about compounding quietly, and that should be okay. And I had to learn to accept it. So forcing speed there could backfire and immensely. So the big lesson from me is frameworks should reduce guilt, not increase it.
That's good. That's really good.
Okay, but let's see. What is our next topic? I think let's talk about the elephant in the room. Time. Everyone says they don't have time for this kind of planning and tracking, but is it?
I think they're lying to themselves. Look, I track those mentoring and coaching calls on a whiteboard that literally takes 5 seconds. The clipboard, I update it as I go. Again, another 5 seconds. The blue post-it review, that's once a year, maybe an hour.
Hmm. So we can, I think, conclude it's not actually about time, right?
No, it's really about priorities and Here's the brutal truth. If you're not tracking your personal goals, it's because you probably just don't care enough about them. You care maybe about looking like you care about them. If you tracked your product metrics as poorly as you track your life metrics, you'd probably be fired. So why you're your own boss. Why are you tolerating it from yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it does sound harsh, but I do agree completely. It took me a while also to kind of accept that I'm not taking myself seriously enough, or my goals, or how I spend my time, etc., etc. So we should own it, and we should be honest with ourselves.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, we all have the same 168 hours in a week. That's over 10,000 minutes in a week. And I'm not saying optimize every minute. I'm saying that the 10 minutes a week that it takes to track what matters is not the problem. It's 1/10 of 1% of your week. If you're not doing it, you haven't decided that it matters. Execution is the key to all of this as product managers and as people. And setting goals for me and tracking the progress towards those goals is a part of that execution. Your mileage may vary, but that's my take. What's your opinion, Anna?
Hmm. Yeah. What I can say for myself is that I don't struggle with time. I think I have time management done and ready in working schedule and my personal life. But what I did struggle is with commitment that was driven by curiosity. I was just so, you know, younger and wanted to like experience a lot of things, and I then overcommit. I love ideas, I love people, I love potential, and that is danger for a person like me because that you that will drive you to overcommit and then maybe even fail, and that's not a good thing. You should maybe do it to learn from your lessons, but maybe it's better that you learn from mine. So I learned that what works for me is the following. I batch reflection, so weekly is tactical, monthly is strategic. Then I protect one non-negotiable block every week that's just for thinking. No output required. No output, all good. Output, great. And I've stopped pretending that everything deserves equal attention. This was the hardest one, but most important one that I can share. Some things get maintenance mode, and that's okay. We should move on, and we shouldn't feel guilty about it. So I accepted it. Hopefully, that's useful for someone else like me. It's something doesn't get scheduled. It doesn't matter enough yet, and maybe
Yeah.
never.
Yeah, I mean, you can, I always say, and it's an old cliche, you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Yeah,
So
very, very good.
let's make this actionable. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I should do something like this, here's the step by step for what to do before the end of the year. Step one, do the blue post-it note exercise right now, today. Write down the good things that happened to you from 2025. If you have to dig deep, but I'm sure that there are some positives out there, and you'll be surprised what comes out. Step two, pick your 3 themes for 2026. Not 10 themes, just 3. And then really think about what are the 3 areas that you want to manage or improve. Step 3, within those 3 themes, set 3 to 5 measurable goals under those themes. So you use a format like complete X number of Ys by date Z. Make it specific. Some of them might be annual goals. Some of them might be to do a certain thing by the end of first quarter, but write them out, make them specific. Step 4, pick some kind of tracking method and commit to it, whether it's your clipboard, whiteboard, app, spreadsheet, Notion. It doesn't matter as long as you pick one and use it and it works for you. You're creating your own data set here. When you're ready to do next year's Blue Post-it review, for 2026, you'll know that you did your daily yoga workout 296 times, and that can be one of the good things that you note. Last step, schedule some kind of regular review, whether it's weekly, monthly, but take 5 minutes. For me, it's a weekly thing. 5 minutes Sunday night or Monday morning, and look at what you said matters to you, and check and see how you're doing and whether you're doing it, and make adjustments in your day, in your week, based on these reviews, so that you're hopefully not missing a goal.
Hmm. I will definitely write all of this down. So hopefully someone who's listening is also doing this. But what if you miss a week or a goal? What happens then?
Well, if that happens, you miss it, right? This isn't about perfection. It's about visibility. You can't fix what you don't see. And that's why I give myself a letter grade for each goal. I'm going to slip on some and I'm going to crush others, but I'm expecting imperfection, and that's okay. I'm going to get my A pluses. I'm going to get my C's. I'm hopefully going to avoid the F's, but I've had a couple of them. Don't use the fact that you missed a goal to be an excuse to quit trying to achieve the goals.
Mm,
Any
I really
any
like that.
any final advice from your side?
Yeah, but I really like that last one, and I had to learn it on my own. So now everybody's listening. You don't have to listen to us, please. We went through it. Use it wisely. My non-negotiable would be your goals must make your average Tuesday better. Not just your future self richer, fitter, or more impressive to someone. It should be yourself, right? If your system only pays off one day, you won't stick to it. Design goals that improve your week, not just your resume. And if you take nothing else from this episode, start embarrassingly small, but start visibly so you keep on doing it. That's how momentum will actually happen for you.
Nice.
So if there's one takeaway from today, you manage products professionally, you should manage your life intentionally.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. Blue Post-its and tally marks work just fine.
Now we want to hear from you. What's your year-end review system? Or are you one of those people who just wing it and hope for the best?
Let us know. And if you want us to share templates or expand on any of this, send us a note. We'll build whatever you guys actually need and can use.
Spotify, Apple, YouTube, links will be in the description. Follow us so you don't miss the next one.
And remember, good product managers don't just ship features.
They ship better versions of themselves.
See you next year.
All the best. See you next year. Bye bye.
Bye.